Opening remarks? Is it? Are we continuing that? Okay, so we're it's great to be back, and the off seasons in the MLS are longer than any other period in any other leagues I've worked on in my career. So I think what happens is you look forward to that break because the season is a marathon, and then after about a month you want to get back straight away. So I think the feeling we've just been talking to the coach is how much we love being back. We love being back with these set of players. There's a hunger, there's a determination, and we want to continue to build on what we did last year. I think last year was good, and we want this year to be great. So we've approached pre-season. Obviously, you saw today that DeAndre's on a slightly separate training schedule because of his World Cup appearances. Leo was sick today. Motta's working individually with the return to play specialist because he's had a little bit of a adductor problem. So he'll be back soon. But apart from that, everyone looks great. We've got Ian Frey, who I think hopefully in the next month you'll see out on the training pitch, just starting to get back to that side. So we're in really good shape.
I'll ask about Rodolfo Pizarro, familiar face back.
Yeah.
What do you see in him? What's your feeling on the plans for him?
Well, I think we see him as a new player because I think it's fair to say that when in his first season, it didn't go as well as planned for him or for the team. And I think speaking to Rodolfo, I think the year away was important for him. He went to Monterrey, he played for Monterrey, he went back to Mexico, he wanted to get into the World Cup squad. It didn't work out for him there. And I think what we've seen over the last month, because obviously we've known he's been coming back, is that a different attitude, a clearer mindset, a determination. This is his last year at Inter Miami. He loves being at the club, he loves being in the city. And I think what's really exciting for him and for us is he's coming into a different environment. He's coming to an environment where probably the attitudes of the players now match his attitude, and he'll have the respect of all his players. And I've got to say, in the first 2.5 days, 3 days we've been back in, he's probably been the most outstanding player. In terms of his the touches and technical stuff that the guys have been doing. So we're pleased to have him back. It's a clean slate. He's I said to the boys is that we've got a new player in Rodolfo. We know his qualities, and the biggest challenge for Rodolfo now is to get in the team. I think that's a pretty big challenge for everyone now. We've got a team now with great competition. We've got good depth, and for Rodolfo, he's challenging Robert Taylor, Bryce Duke, Victor Ulloa, Gregore, Motta to play in that midfield.
We'll go to Franco, then Jose.
You touched on Gregore. There's been some stuff out there in social media about what the situation is.
Who? He's our captain. Yeah, he's the heart of our team. Garrison Draper, our new head of performance, after day one, I said, which players impressed you the most? I've fallen in love with Gregory. So, and that was no different than Dawn and the rest of the staff. So he's our captain, and he'll be the one leading from the front this year. Well, I think there's many mechanisms, isn't there, to DPs in this league. I mean, it changes every day for me. So, I leave whoever's DP to whoever has to sort that, and I just look at him as our captain.
What's that?
Phil, well, you have 2 spots left or 1 spot left for a player. Do you expect to have all 3 DPs like this?
Well, I think we're working really hard. I think, in this league, the DPs make the difference. I think, we've got massive ambitions to be the best team in the conference, in the league, to win trophies this year. And for that, we will need the best players in terms of DPs as well. So we have got some interesting moves to make. But you know what? I really love the squad that we've got at this moment in time. I want us to make sure that sometimes the best investment is in the squad and the roster that we've got. Why? Because we've got young players. Why? Because we've got players that are going to improve and get better from last season. And with that will be the need for DP players to come in. We're working hard. Do we want to bring in before the start of the season? Ideally, yes, but you know, our calendar in the MLS doesn't marry with the calendar for the rest of probably Europe. So that, you know, that most of the top players in Europe are coming out of contract at the end of their season, which is June, July. So there may have to be some patience, but rest assured for our supporters that we're doing everything to bring the best players to this football club.
We'll go to Steve and then Ian.
Just off the back of that, I mean, Messi's name is always mentioned.
Has it? I've not heard that.
The landscape of that has changed, you think, slightly because of what happened in the.
Well, we want to bring the best players in the world to this football club. Jorge, Jose, David want this football club to have you know, the best team and the best DP players, and he is up there with, well, he's probably the best player. So for us, the landscape's not changed at all. With any deal for any DP of the level that you're talking about is complicated. It takes time, and I think, like I said before, rest assured, we're working every second of every day to bring in the best players, and he is one of the best.
Ian.
You had mentioned during last season that you didn't want the big overhaul that you had year one.
Yeah.
How is that different for you going into training camp this time around? Where you're doing differently because you have basically the larger portion of that core back, and then how do you consider bringing in however many pieces you're thinking about this?
Yeah, I think it's easier. I think definitely easier. You know, we made massive changes last season, and we knew that it was going to take time. And you look at that first 5 or 6 games, it was a slow burning process. And what I think this year is that on day one they knew how I worked, and I knew how they worked. And I know them as players now, and what happens is that we're going to get more consistency. We know what we're going to get. I think consistency wins in this league. I have Jason Christ as my assistant, and every single day he says consistency in this league works. You look at Philadelphia, consistency in what they do means that for the last 2 or 3 seasons they've been the most consistent teams in both conferences. So that's what we want now: consistency in performance, consistency in the roster, and we just need probably the icing and the cherry on the cake, as if we say in England, which means that we need to bring in 2 or 3 starting players to take us to that next level, because we've lost Gonzalo, 15, 16 goals, the assist, the aura, the attitudes around Gonzalo. So we need that replacing, and we're working hard to do that. We're working hard for the Pozuelo one. Obviously he's a talented player. He changed our season. Him and Gonzalo changed our season. Obviously with Rodolfo coming back, it's a jigsaw. It's a jigsaw like building a roster in this league is. And there are 1 or 2 other players in the league that we're really excited to look at as well.
We're going to go to Milar and then Andrea.
Entrenador, ¿cómo le va? En español puede ser.
Oh,
Para el pueblo latino.
it's a bit early for that one.
Para el pueblo latino en los Estados Unidos. La temporada pasada pudimos entrar a los playoffs y se hizo una temporada bárbara. Podemos creer que esta temporada también aspiramos a entrar a los playoffs y al campeonato para darle a toda la gente del Inter.
I speaking Spanish back or English? Oh, Christ. La temporada pasada fue un buen año, pero cada año mi actitud, mi filosofía es necesitamos mejorar cada año. Entonces, ¿cómo se dice sexto? No, 6. What's 6 in the league? Sexto en el tabla is este año no para mí es aceptable. Sí, entonces nuestro reto es para terminar la temporada en las primeras posiciones. Es mi filosofía, es la filosofía de los dueños. Queremos ganar la liga, ganar la copa. Construimos un equipo con muchos jugadores con calidad, mucha calidad, y este año queremos mejorar, queremos ganar la liga, ganar la copa o cualificar para la
temporada.
Pardon? No, I want to qualify for the Champions League. Yeah.
Consulta. Aspiran a sumar más jugadores al equipo.
Sí.
Hay visión.
Queremos 1, 2, 3 más jugadores. Tenemos una plantilla muy bueno con jugadores hambre, ¿yeah? ¿Entiendes? Pero cada año, cuando era un futbolista, en el inicio de la temporada, cuando entra en el vestuario, a mí gusta un reto como un jugador, con dos jugadores para competir. Entonces, este año en el vestuario, yo quiero poner jugadores con más calidad para crear una competición muy grande para mejorar los rendimientos.
Michelle, then Andrea.
Michelle, was that okay?
That was great.
Gracias.
Blame me because I told him that you speak in Spanish.
Yeah. Esta es mi profesora. Yes.
You mentioned, I have two questions, sorry. You mentioned other players in the league. Joseph Martinez's name has come up. What do you think of him as a player?
I like him.
What do you like about him? What do you think he would bring?
Well-
A guy like that could come here.
Well, he's always scored goals against us. I think that's you know, you think about the players that have always scored goals against us: Joseph Martinez, Kei Kamara, Wanyama always seems to play well against us. Georgi Mihailovic always plays well against us. So there's certain players in each team that you think they made a real impression. And you know, you sat on the level of the pitch. You know, you get a different feel for someone that's on the pitch that probably you don't get that feel when you're up in the stands, and you know, like people like Mihailovic and Kellen Acosta was really a good player. Victor Wanyama, people that really impress you, and Joseph was one of them. He looks like someone that's a machine, that's hungry, that scores goals, that doesn't need many chances. So we're looking to strengthen. And you know, like I say, for somebody to come into this football club and become a starter, have to be really good, because I think we've got the nucleus of you know, a really good starting group already. So we're looking for quality players.
I have one follow-up on Robbie Robinson. We talked to him earlier. He said he's never been more motivated. He's so hungry. He's been disappointed so many times and
Yeah.
really struggled. You know, where do you see him? What kind of conversations you had with him, and how do you see him looking?
Well, he's worked the whole of the off season, and he's coming back from a real serious injury. You know, you think about, you know, touch wood, we don't get many injuries, but you know, ACLs and stuff like that, they're quite standard injuries in terms of the rehabilitation. Robbie's had a real acute injury that not many people have. So we're going to spend the first 3 or 4 weeks just making sure that come the February the 25th, he's fit. He needs to do a full preseason. He's not had that in his career so far. And I think that will give him the base to become that new player that we expect. And I'd say that this year for Robbie is there's two avenues. Is that, does he fulfill the potential that we all believe in this room that he can, or does he just become that average footballer in the MLS? And I think I know which path he wants to take. And let's hope, let's pray that he gets through preseason, he gets that foundation, and that he fulfills that incredible potential. Because I think if he does, then without doubt you've got a national team player. You know, you look at the World Cup in the I was going to say the summer, but it wasn't the summer, was it? It was in November, December. You look at the US men's national team, centre forward was a position that if you was an American, you think, I've got an opportunity to get in that. Well, Robbie has got that potential and ability. Now he's just got to deliver.
Andrea.
So I wanted to ask, first one about bringing Javier and Barrett.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and how the coach now for 2022. And I wanted to ask you to clarify what his Campana's contract is, that finalized? Is he an Inter Miami player on your team?
He's an Inter Miami player, yeah. Leo. He's ill today. We've said that, haven't we? Yeah, he's ill today. So I think when we had a couple of departures, which, you know, we had outstanding coaches in Mark Mason and Brett Utley, they obviously their departures left open 2 spaces. And we went through a real big process. I think the whole of November, we were interviewing some outstanding coaches. I wanted MLS coaches. We interviewed, we went through the process for a month, stringent, probably one of the best processes I've been through. And at the back of my mind, I just kept thinking about the quality that we had in the club. You know, when I first came here, Javier worked the preseason with me for the first 3-4 weeks with Anthony Pulis when Jason was away with the Olympic team. I saw his quality, but we both agreed that he needed to probably go and manage his own football team, find himself as a coach and gain some experience. And what I've seen over the last 2 years is an outstanding coach developing. And I think it was at the right moment. I think he needed that little jump up. With Darren, I've worked with him for 2 years, and he's outstanding with young players. You know, he's assistant coach and director of youth, the development of the youth players. So his attention to detail, his experience, his knowledge. He's, you know, and I think promoting from within a football club is the best way and only way. It means that we've got a clear pathway to the first team for coaches and for players. And with Fede, I thought Fede's a really good story because Fede finished his playing career and probably was a little bit nervous about going into coaching. What we saw last year was someone that just committed full time to being a coach, and that's what you have to do as a player. Sometimes you get some players that half do it. You know, I can live off what I did as a player too, but he immersed himself in. He lived every minute of every day as a coach. And then obviously when I decided to bring Darren and Javier up, there's a spot as the MLS2 head coach. And I've got to say, Fede was probably at the bottom of the list because of his experience, the fact that he was going through that early development. And then when we went through the interview process, we asked Fede to interview for the experience, because when you go through a job interview, you'll know that it's quite daunting. You've got to prepare. And the minute he started talking in his interview, you know, me and Chris both agreed that this guy has to be the head coach of the MLS2. His passion for the job, his passion for the football club, but his passion for them boys was incredible. And I think he will be sensational. We've had probably one of the best in Darren Powell. And now I think we've got someone equally as special in Fede. And we all know, you know, everyone loves Fede. And we, you know, he will need support, but I think it's a great addition alongside Christian Ledesma, who will be his assistant coach.
And we'll do the last 2 questions, Franco and then Davide.
With Joseph, he's obviously scored a lot of goals. How much concern is that? You talked last year a lot about building that line.
Yeah.
How much of a concern is it at all about that aspect? Joseph had it.
Yeah, well, I think, first and foremost, he's not our player. You know, we talk about bringing in players. I think what I'll do, I'll talk about the general in terms of sort of like how do we accept players into our locker room. I think I said at the start of last season that we're not going to allow any kind of excuse the language, not going to allow any kind of dickheads in our dressing room. So I think what I always say to people that always challenge me on that is say, well, do you know what? You know, that person can do X, Y, Z. Leave the management of that player to me. That's my job. That's what I'm paid to do. I think what we've seen over the last 2 years is that we've had to manage a lot of big personalities, and I think Gonzalo is a prime example of getting the best out of someone that probably wasn't going right and then finishing on such a high note. So I think I back my ability to deal with any kind of player, and I always think with any kind of player with character. And I think Gonzalo is a fantastic example of when people talk to me about what he was like. And I always revert back to a couple of things that he wanted. He wanted the standards to be really high and he wanted to win. Now, for me, they're 2 really good starting points. And I'm sure it's no different with any other top players that we come in. The standards are high and you've got the competition and challenge to win. Then that player is going to be good in the locker room. You know, we brought DeAndre Yedlin from European football. He's Tottenham, Newcastle, Galatasaray, playing with the best players in the world. And we look how he settled into this locker room. I think what's important is for the locker room to accept the player that we're bringing in and to guide them, to help them, to support them, and to set the culture and the values that they set last year. And I think I have no doubt whatsoever that dressing room can handle any kind of personality, from the minimum player to the DP player.
How do you do that competition? Part of it.
Yeah.
Place to give some younger players some minutes? Is it something you want to aspire to try to win? Like, how do you do that in the bigger picture? Obviously, when it's still an MLS second half season.
We've got to win it. We're in it to win it. We're in it to win it. US Open Cup. We're in it to win it. We're going to play our strongest team. It's a route into Champions League football. You think about where Champions League football takes you. I think in February, Seattle are playing against the winners of every other league in the world. Who won the Champions League this year, Steve? Yeah. Who?
Yeah.
No, in Europe. In Europe. Yeah, so Seattle are going to be playing against Real Madrid. That's where we want to be, and to do that, we're either going to have to win. We've got three routes into it. So, and that trophy itself is on our vision board. People forget about that sometimes, but we want to be in that competition. When it comes to February, we want to be in that, I call it the Champions of Champions competition, and to do that we've got to win these competitions. We on the first day for the players, we put up the roster on the wall and said, look guys, it's going to be, to get into this team is going to be really difficult. We've got 2 players for every position. So for me, I think we've done the maths that there's a potential 47 games, 4,320 minutes. The more minutes, the better for me as a coach. Why? Because I can get more players minutes, more players games, because the more games they play, the happier they'll be. So we're in to win every competition. And like I say, the vision of this football club is to be in that Champions of Champions and competing against Real Madrid, because that's elite football.
Davide? On the call?
Thank you. Hey, Phil, David Curran from Associated Press. Hope you're well. I wanted to ask on a slightly different track, the news this morning of Gareth Bale retiring on his own terms. I just wanted your reflections on Gareth, whether it was his time in Europe, what you saw in MLS for Wales, just what you thought of the news of him leaving today and his impact, please. Thank you.
Gareth Bale's retired, has he? Well, I mean, he's had the most incredible career. You look at the trophies that he won in Real Madrid, phenomenal. And, he's gone out playing in the World Cup. So I've got so much respect for him. His last kick of a ball in the MLS was to score the winning goal in an MLS Cup final. He scored in Champions League finals. He scored in World Cups. He scored in European Championships. He scored in the Premier League, scored in La Liga. He's had the most incredible career. And, I've got to say, I used to love playing against him. So fast, so strong. And we wish him all the best in his retirement.
Thank you, Coach.